Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Giovanni Valderas, and I am the exhibitions manager at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. Today, we are blessed to have Dan Jian with us. Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thanks for invitation. Um, hi everybody. My name is Dan. I'm a newcomer to Fort Worth. I was born and raised in China, and starting 2019, I am a new Fort Worth resident. I'm happy to have in this show with Fort Worth Community Arts Center, and I'm currently working and teaching at Texas Christian University. I'm also an independent working artist.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you so much. So I have a few questions about the work, which I think is amazing. I think everyone should come and see it. But the work is very expressional and mark making. And so I was wondering, how do you negotiate between complete abstraction and representation in the work?
Oh, that's such a good question. I don't think the commitment has to be either or.
Mhm.
Um, to be honest, in my career or practice, I was many times tripping over or get caught up with like, is it abstraction? Is it figurative? Is it storytelling? Is it symbolism? And this has a lot to do with me coming from a traditional Chinese upbringing, and the art that I was exposed to when I was younger was very different from my later life when I was pursuing oil painting with very abstract expressionist influenced kind of tradition. Um, so you're exactly right. They are both expressive and gestural. At the same time, there's very carefully manipulated the storytelling, revealing and not revealing. And I realize that's exactly where I want to be. Um, it's it has more to do with that my own immigrant experience in this country is mixing sort of, you know, all together. And this has more to do with how at a how like storytelling at our modern time is also often like a mix of feeling and intuitive response and intellectual response.
Mhm. Such a great answer. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think a lot of times artists do get caught up in that conundrum, and I
Right.
think and you navigate it so well, and I think that's what is so interesting about the work. Um, and it leads me to this other question: the way that the figures are portrayed in some of the work. There's a certain solitude, and which evokes a certain mundane quality or melancholy to the work. And some immediate pieces that I think about that come to mind is the little pianist and
Yeah.
dental work. And dental work is kind of comedic at the same time, but also like a little
Right.
heartfelt. I don't know.
Right.
And so
Oh,
I'm going to, yeah, if you can expand on any of that.
Giovanni, you're my ideal audience because you're so sensitive to the to the pictorial space.
Thank you.
Absolutely. The work imagery were the story of the painting. They come from different places. Like the dentist or the dental work was a scene that I encountered on the street in China during one of my walk, and this poor woman was receiving her dental service on the sidewalk because she's a farmer and she only get to see um, any care during one of those farmers market trip. It wasn't there's also plenty of dentists that set up stands on the sidewalk in order to give them speedy treatment. So she's getting her teeth pulled while she was also trying to sell some produce. Um, and I find that scene just like so fascinating and really wrapping up a lot of um, my memory or experience from growing up in China. And I did that painting multiple times. You will find a second version in the smaller work that there was a study. So in the larger version, I sort of like hugged her with some traditional birds of the flower motif, but in a ghost kind of a way. And understanding that we are navigating everyday experience and get caught in the moment, but there's always a ghostly heritage with us, consciously or not consciously. So that was a story behind the dental work. The needle
Wow.
piano list was completely fabricated scene, and you get that sense because nothing makes sense. The perspective is wrong. The pianist was a cartoony figure. That's because it was a fantasy that I have about this blue-eyed pianist playing by himself, uh, in again surrounded by traditional Chinese motif. So
Mm.
there was this like mixture of melancholic feeling, but also combined with Western um, and Eastern. The Chinese script at the bottom of the work says this pianist with blue eye, whose name is Peter, I hope he will kiss me. So it was just completely fabricated daydream, uh, along with Chinese motif and the rabbits. I think there was rabbits in there.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I think my favorite part about the work is that you use such a really great color palette that's warm and inviting, but then in some of the work there's some ominous tones, and so I immediately think about the rock and the cherry tree, and how you have this kind of darker tones kind of infused, and especially with the mark making. So I was wondering, like, if you could maybe talk a little bit about that.
The palette of the
Mhm.
work, like different mood in the work. That's exactly what they are. They're, sometimes I think the white or light pastel color was a given. It's just something that I gravitate to, and the shade of pink. So sometimes I caught myself thinking, well, not all story happened during a daytime.
Mhm.
Or not all story are rosy, happy ending. um, the later work, there's sort of a sense of tragedy start coming in, like with the painting titled "Death of a Horse," and um, the scene with um, mural figure holding a shout while like um, cherries falling off the tree and arrows shooting across the page. So there's conflict and night scenes start getting introduced in the work. I and those are all work that made during pandemic, so it must have something to do with that kind of like landscape, the actual political geopolitical landscape that we had to um, all endure past year.
There is some of the work, there's some kind of equestrian imagery um, in the work, and I was wondering, is that referencing like the cave paintings in China, or is there some connection to that?
Yes, cave painting is very influential in my work, um, mainly because when I was searching for that, what we talked about earlier, the in betweenness of that gestural abstract mark and that kind of flat anti-perspective surface, say with Jackson Pollock's work and that tradition, but also wanting to have some sort of pictorial space where I can host the stories and the event on the surface. I find cave painting does exactly that. And cave painting from all kinds of culture, whether it's Indonesia cave or ancient Chinese cave, they are exactly gestural marks and anti-perspective, but with an element of story and narrative. Um, it's just such a beautiful blend of self-expression, this kind of introverted, uh, strong drive of self-expression at the same time with very immature, innocent handling of those depiction. And I want to be there. Ultimately, I want to draw like a child, but through education and the research, it sounds like a dilemma.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because I think we often forget, like, there's that certain freedom or liberation when you're a child and you're just drawing and
Oh,
not being corrected or saying, you know, this is supposed to look like this.
right, right,
You
right,
draw it
right.
because you want it to look however you want it to look. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Great and educated artists understand. I think Picasso has this famous saying that, I'm a great artist because I am almost as good as a 5-year-old. And I have like a 2-year-old. Every time he just picks up a pen, that complete presentness
Mm,
is unmatched by any sophisticated artist because we're always sort of aiming for something and they're not. I think that was so profoundly inspiring.
wow. This has been such an enlightening conversation. Like the idea of just being present in the moment when you're making it, because I think
Right. You're making.
that intuitiveness kind of um, allows you to kind of manifest really great ideas. So,
And that it's also that we have to trust that our hand or our body do carry a history and a knowledge of itself that might not quite at alignment with the brain.
mhm.
So I teach at the TCU, and I always repeat myself saying that a part of our process is to find a way to blindfold yourself and take a nap. Then there's always going to be opportunity to reflect and unpack what happened, but it's part of process to work that blindfolding into your work.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just one school of thinking, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, when can I sign up and take a class with you? So Dan, like, where can we find more information about you, let's say, on the internet or on social media?
oh, I'm terrible on social media. I am saying that with a shame, but not that much shame, just because I'm so bombarded with work and I don't have time to scroll. Anyway, so find my info on my website. I will try to do better job posting new and upcoming event on my website. There's a button says news, and that's where you will find my upcoming solo show this fall with TCU Multi Gallery, as well as international screening with CSCA Museum in Korea.
Nice, nice. Well, I can't thank you enough for joining us and to talk about the work a little bit. Everyone, come see the show. It's fantastic. What I love about the pieces there, they're very intimate, and so they draw you in. And I think Dan just did a really excellent job in portraying these amazing kind of abstract, but also representational images. They're really beautifully done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Giovanni.
Yeah. Well, everyone, have a great day. We'll see you all soon.